Yeah, and sometimes you just got to bet on yourself. You got to say to yourself, you know what, I can do this. I can make it on my own. It's such a freeing space to be in. Most people I know who have left their jobs, that's how they feel. They feel completely free. I answer my phone even if it looks like it's a telemarketer or a spam, because you never know who's calling you. So I answer the phone, and we talked that day. He said, hey, if it comes on your schedule, can you send it? I sent it. We did an NDA, and next thing you know, we won a contract that ended up being a very broad impacting contract for a lot of individuals. Don't be afraid to get out there. We find work that we think we will do a good job at, where we think we can add value, where we think we can bring in new ideas or some innovation. We find those things and then we pursue those things.
Hello, Money Movers. Welcome to another episode of Her Money Moves, where we learn how top women make it big and unlock financial independence. I'm your host, Stacey Latoyson, and today we're recording live from the WPO Entrepreneurial Excellence Forum in Colorado Springs, where many women, their companies have at least $1 million in annual revenue. Some of the companies are valued at $1 billion. We're joined by Diedre Windsor. She's the president and CEO of Windsor Group, LLC, which provides a myriad of professional services to private sector and government agencies. She's an award-winning Inc. 5000 entrepreneur. Again, one of the 50 fastest at WPO, and a huge champion for women in business. Yes. I have heard from so many women at this conference that Diedre was the one who helped them in the beginning. She's an incredible woman. So excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's so great being here. And thank you for having me.
So you have such an impressive background, starting from your days in Detroit, which
yes,
I just hosted the podcast in Detroit.
You did?
Yes, at the NFL draft.
Wow.
I was so impressed by your city. Everybody there.
It's coming back. It's coming back because, it took a turn back in 2008, but it's definitely coming back. I'm very excited about that.
Well, I'm fascinated by your story. Yeah. You were a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
So what inspired you to enlist in the U.S. Army, and how did those early experiences shape your career?
Well, I was in ROTC in high school, and I came from a single parent household. My mom loved us. I always tell people we always had love. I don't like to make it sound like it's a hard luck story. We didn't have anything. I think we had enough. We had what we needed to survive, but there was not money for college. And I don't think my mom understood all the stuff that we understand now about how you get into college. So, kind of what my daughter went through is different than what I went through. And that's just a function of different times, different lifestyles.
And awareness.
Exactly. And awareness. And awareness. That is 100% correct. So I was in ROTC in high school, and I said, I knew I wanted to get out of Detroit. I said, I'm going to get out of here, come hell or high water. And I did, and never looked back. My sisters still live there, so I still visit Detroit because I have lots of family there. But yeah, it was, I joined the Army when I was 17 years old in 1986. So I stayed in the Army for about 5.5 years, and then I transitioned. I decided to get out, go to college, and then go back in as an officer. And then I made the decision that I would retire. And so I stayed in the Army. I was in the Army for 22 years, active duty. Been all over the world, loved it. Sometimes people ask, do you ever miss the Army? And the answer is immediately no, because most of my friends are military people. So I get enough, but I'm telling you, I don't miss the bureaucracy and all the other stuff that you have to deal with in the military. But I do believe that was a great experience. I wish every child had to do 2 years in the military for just the discipline aspect, and to make a little money. But yeah, it was a good experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So after an extensive career in the military and with the federal government, what motivated you to transition into entrepreneurship and start Windsor Group?
So funny thing is, and I don't talk about this often, but I think I got out of the military in 2009, and I immediately got an EIN in 2010. And I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to start a business, but I wasn't in the right headspace. And so even though I got the EIN, so sometimes you look up Windsor Group, you'll see started in 2010 because our EIN, that's how old our EIN is. It's 2010. But I was not in the right mental space. Sometimes when you retire from the military, it really is like, it's like graduating from high school, not knowing what you want to do when you grow up. But the difference is you have responsibilities and bills. And so you don't have the luxury of taking a gap year at your mom's house. It's like, okay, you need to go and get a job, So, I was out of work for most of, I worked for probably about 4 months after I retired. Then I left that job, and then decided to go into the government, working in the government for 6 years, and I probably would still be in the government. But in 2015, I had spent like 5 years at the Department of Education. And it's funny, my job was converted to a senior executive position, and I didn't get my own job.
Oh.
And so I'm kind of I can show you better than I can tell you person. So I decided I was going to get an SES job anyway. So I applied for a job, got an SES job at the Department of Justice, and worked at the U.S. Department of Justice for about 13 months. And at that time, a lot of bureaucracy. And I thought, you know what? Is this my life? Like I literally quit my job. I went into work one day, had a meeting with my boss. I'd like to tell people I went in at 8:30 and 8:43 I quit. And I did not leave that day, but I made a decision. I'm having this conversation with my boss, and I thought, is this my life? I feel like I'm in the military again. It was just so it was just not a space I was willing to go back to. And during the meeting I said, well, I had this conversation in my head. I can quit today, but I can't leave today because I really need this money for a couple more months. So at about 8:43, I got up and I said, I'm sorry this didn't work out. And I went in and I wrote a letter of resignation. I told my boss I would let him know when I was leaving, and I left Veterans Day of that year. And I started in 2017. I started in earnest full time with Windsor Group. So I would still be at education if my job had got converted and I got my own job, but that was not what was in the cards for me. I think I needed to be pushed out.
Yes.
I think sometimes God pushes you in a way, and it's like, let me put some adversity in front of you. But it really wasn't that it was adversity. It was that I was comfortable where I came from, and I had this level of commitment that I didn't have in this new space. So it created a space for me to walk away without feeling any guilt. And so I walked away. And I believe things happen the way they're supposed to happen. So, and sometimes you just got to bet on yourself.
Yep.
You got to say to yourself, you know what, I can do this. I can make it on my own. And it's such a freeing space to be in. Most people I know who have left their jobs, that's how they feel. They feel completely free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yep.
It does feel like freedom.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's also not easy.
It's not easy at all. Yeah.
Navigating a whole new space.
Yeah.
It's like everything is new. All the rules are different.
Yeah. It's not easy also because you're not making any money. I mean, when you start out in business, like in 2017, when I started out, I had my retirement check. So we were living off that as my daughter and I. But really, until you make money in business, you are scrambling to make money. And honestly, you really only need like one. And I tell entrepreneurs this all the time. I always say, you need to figure out truly what you need to survive. Because a lot of us think, oh, I was making 150,000. I need to go and make 150,000. No, what you need to figure out is, okay, at my job, I'm like, I made this amount, but every 2 weeks I saw this amount. So whether that money went to 401k, wherever it was going, you weren't seeing it. What were you seeing in your check? Okay, you were seeing $3,000 every other week. Okay, bam. How much were you spending? I was spending $4,000. How much is retirement? It's $3,000. That means you got to make $1,000 to continue paying your bills. Like, you need to understand truly what you need to survive so that you can move to that next level. And I think sometimes we forget that because we're all trying to get back the same money that we were making.
Oh, yeah.
And you realize you don't really need that. You need to understand truly what your financial situation is. So even if you're in credit card debt up to your neck, like I was, I knew that, okay, I need to pay I need to make sure that I pay the minimum on these cards because I cannot afford to be broke and have bad credit, because that's one thing I saw. That's one thing I saw coming up is my Aunt Glo. I cracked up because my aunt, she could get anything, but she had good credit. She had no job. My mother, who had a job, had bad credit. She couldn't get anything. So that's what I learned. You cannot be broke and have bad credit. You need to either have some money. I mean, it's good to have good credit anyway, but you need to either have some money, but you cannot not have money and also have bad credit because then you can't get anything. So, and I did. I lived off credit cards and everything else, for the business for a long time until I didn't have to do that anymore. So.
Wow. So what kept you going during that time? Because like for most of us, you wanted, how that you have something really good, and you know that you can deliver, and you work so hard, but until you get that opportunity and start having some revenue coming in, I mean, it is so challenging.
I did a job probably most people wouldn't do. Like my first contract in the federal government, I wrote a contract, a proposal for an administrative support. So I thought I would, when this contract came back, I said, okay, I'm going to find somebody to work on this contract. Turns out it was a personal services contract with the government, which means the person who wrote the proposal is the person on the contract. So I left a senior executive position in the federal government, and I ended up being a secretary for GS15 for probably about 4 months. And so, and the guy that I was working for, I felt like he was a little uncomfortable. Like, why are you here? If you were at this level, like, why are you doing this job? But for me, I'm a business owner. It is a prime contract. I now have past performance and I also have money coming in. And again, it goes back to you need to understand how much money you need to survive. So if I'm getting $2,000 a month and I can put that with this money over here from my retirement and make sure all the bills are paid, that's good enough for me. And so I did that, but now I got past performance. So I can use that past performance to pursue other work and show that, yes, somebody has actually paid me to do work before.
So can you break down the government contract process? And for those who are interested in breaking out of here, like me.
The one big thing everybody needs to know about government contracting is the government contracting, they have one source of truth when it comes to, I don't want to say one source of truth because some organizations, maybe some of those 3-letter agencies where you require clearance to be at, maybe they have a different type. But by and large, there is a system for award management. In that system, they have contract opportunities. First of all, you have to be registered in the SAM.gov, which is the system for award management. And then also on SAM.gov, you register there, but you can also find contract opportunities there. And on any given day, there might be 100,000 opportunities throughout the federal agencies. You just got to be able to go on there. You got to be able to narrow your search to figure out what you're looking for. I think people struggle because most people don't know how to use these systems. Now, some people will watch this and say, well, listen, SAM, you need to understand what SAM is before you can go anywhere else. Most opportunities are going to show up on SAM, except for those that are maybe direct awards to someone, in which case, you may get a phone call, depending on if you're in the program that allows for direct awards, which is another thing.
Well, tell me about Windsor Group LLC and how you've scaled it successfully.
I like to say we bid a lot. Our mantra is never rest on your laurels. Ever since we started, it's been about, it's been about diversifying, making sure that we didn't have all of our eggs in one basket. For the first 3 years, we were a subcontractor to a large organization. And I always worried if something happened, if we lost that contract, we would be out of business. So it was always bid, and not just on anything, bid on things that you think that your company can do a good job at. And some people, they have one niche thing and they sell that thing at multiple agencies. So we have a couple of things that we do. We provide project and program management. We provide staff augmentation. We do some IT support, not a whole lot, but we do have clients where they've asked us to bring in web designers, software developers, and things like that. So I don't think that makes us an IT company. That just means that we staff these types of positions. We also have organizations that ask us for PhD level social and health scientists, that they need temporarily. We have contracts that are temp staffing where the government, I think, they don't tell us this, but this is my observation that they're looking to hire and they see that as a way to see the people before testing them out before they go through that federal hiring process, which can be very daunting. And if you're not in the federal government, it's sometimes very hard to get into the government. So I do think we have a couple of clients where they use our services to help them figure that out.
To help them filter out candidates.
Yeah, but we bid. Like last year, we bid, but also let me just say something. This for everybody out there. Answer your phone. Answer your phone. We've won contracts last year. We won a $25 million contract, an 18-month contract for $25 million to execute a very large program for a federal agency. The contract started at $25 million and it was modified a couple of times. It ended up at $32 million. But a guy just called one day, a large company called, said, we've been tracking this opportunity and it came out on the GSA schedule. And you're on the schedule, and there are 41 companies here. And I think I might have been one of the ones that just answered the phone that day. But I've won contracts like that before because I answer my phone, even if it looks like it's a telemarketer or a spam, because you never know who's calling you. Okay. And you don't know what the thing in the telephone system that makes it say spam or telemarketer. Mm-hmm. So I answer the phone, and we talked that day. He said, hey, if it comes on your schedule, can you send it? I sent it. We did an NDA, and next thing you know, 2 months later, we won a contract that ended up being a very broad impacting contract for a lot of individuals.
That's some great advice because if I don't recognize the number, I usually don't answer.
Yeah. No, I won't hang up quick. I answer. Sometimes I say, Windsor Group LLC, this is Diedre. How can I help you? Now I'm still very, very military in answering the phone. And as soon as I hear that background, like it's like the radio or something, it's Diedre, click. Then I hang up, because I know that's not a contracting officer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, answer your telephone. Do what you say you're gonna do. Like if you decide to take on a contract, a requirement, you need to make sure you put your best foot forward to exceed expectations. Because that is another thing that helps you grow. Like when we go into organizations, when I talked about my first employee, like she was in an organization, and when it came to getting our second employee, they just emailed and say, hey, send us another person like Kristen. So that means that she represented at the client side. And so now it opened the door for us to build where we started with them. So answer your telephone, do what you say you're going to do. Don't put yourself in a box. There are people who will say, oh, you got to do this niche thing and don't do anything else. Or, oh, you got to go in one agency and go deep. We have at least 12 clients and we have about 50 contracts or task orders with the different clients. We're only dealing with this agency or dealing with this agency. We find work that we think we will do a good job at, where we think we can add value, where we think we can bring in new ideas or some innovation. We find those things and then we pursue those things. But we bid a lot. We give ourselves an option because to me, like you bid on one thing, it's like I tell people about jobs. If you're looking for a job, your job needs to be looking for a job. Like outside of you if you're working every day, then your lunch hour in the evening, you need to put in a couple of job applications. But it's the same with contracting. And I don't count anything until we get it. Like I'm not like, oh, we're the incumbent on this, so I know we're gonna get this.
So you're being honored this summer as one of the top philanthropic businesses for the entire DMV area.
Yes.
Tell me, what does that mean to you as a leader?
Oh, it's so important. So I talked earlier about my employees buying houses. That's a big deal to me, or just doing important things in their lives. It's great. But this is the other thing that means a lot to me, being able to give back. We last year we were on a list as a small business. We're considered mid-sized just because of our employee count. I think they need to probably figure out how to change that. But we gave away over $250,000 last year to nonprofits throughout the United States. So, and you know what I love about it? Like, I would love to, because people often say, oh, you should start a foundation. Why, when there's so many people out here doing the good work already? There are organizations out here supporting the veteran population that are supporting women and children, that are working through food insecurity. There are people, boots on the ground, that are doing the real yeoman's work. And so I'm like, why not just help those people? You know, there's some organizations that we donate to where people get scholarships. Like, we donate to the Army Women's Foundation, and so we give 3 scholarships away there. And then there are a couple of other ones. We donate to Coda Support Foundation, Women Veterans Interact. One of the ones that I love that we donate to, the Black Art Foundation, because they support Black artists. They make sure they create a space for artists of color. Period. And it's incredible. They have an exhibit right now at the Baltimore Washington International Airport, and it's called Humanity. So it's all male artists, and so they just create this space for underserved artists. Jill Johnson, she has a nonprofit called the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. So you know what she does? She knew women who are starting their business. They can come in and pitch, and so a woman may come and say, "Well, I'm seeking $5,000 in capital to get to the next level." So they have this Capital Catalyst program where they have the woman. She has to raise $5,000 first to get the $5,000 loan, which is a 0% loan. And I like that model. You know why? Because you're not just giving people money, not knowing whether they're really putting in the work themselves. It's like I notice now a lot of colleges are like, yeah, you can get this scholarship if you're a sophomore. You know why? Because they're tired of giving scholarships to kids who don't finish the first year. They go home after that when they could have given it. So that's what I like about the Capital Catalyst program. You got to show that you're committed, and then you can get this money over here. So I just like giving to organizations that are doing the work that I believe in and that are helping in the community. Yeah. So I really, that's probably one of the biggest highlights for me, is being able to do that, to give back.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you were also honored as the Bold Person of the Year for the most subcontracts given out to women entrepreneurs. This is huge.
Yeah.
This is huge. Yeah. That really does transform their businesses and their abilities then to do like you've done, where your employees are now able to buy homes and, have thrive in life. And
And so, I'm a member of the Bold Collective, which is Black owners and women. And it's an organization that centers Black women of color, because what you realize is that struggle is out there for us, for access to capital, access to contracts. And so it's like a group of women that have come together, and it's the top 1% of it's women who are in the top 1% of business owners. And you mentioned it earlier. I mean, most business owners don't get to $1 million. So that is a big deal. And so I did win the Bold of the Year, and it's really for embodying the goals and the mission of the Bold Collective. One of the things I did is, educating when I can. But the big thing, I always say, if you want to help a business owner, you give them some work. You put some money in their pocket. You help them put some food on their table. Because when I started, I got a lot of advice. And I always applaud. There was a lady, Maria Suleiman. I always give her respect, because she gave me a contract. She had folks. She used to do the 8A She used to do 8A applications, and she would have clients. And she said, "I'll pay you it was $1,000 a month." You would have thought it was $1 million. It was a lot to me, because remember what I said earlier about what is the amount you need? Okay, I know I got this amount. Let me add that $1,000 to it. Okay, now I got $5,000. So that was a big deal to me, that she saw something in me. She trusted me with her clients. I mean, because that's a hard thing, to trust people, somebody hungry like me with your client. Because people have been known to walk away with your clients, But I always say, if you want to help somebody, I love advice. Thank you for all the great advice, because I got plenty of it. But you want to help somebody, you help them by giving them some work. And sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big, and you might think it's small, but small is relative to who you're talking to. So yeah, for me, last year when we got the major contract, we were able to, like I said, I did a lot of subcontracting last year, but I was able to subcontract to many of my Bow sisters. And one of the ladies, Kathy, she has a farm, but Kathy says, "Hey, you helped me get to $1 million. That's important to me. Like you helped my business meet the $1 million threshold." And so for me, that was very important because I know how important it was for me, for Maria to see me and say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you this." And like I said, sometimes people think that's not a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Like it's all relative to who you're talking to at the time. So
You
yeah.
are a gift
Yeah,
to so many entrepreneurs, especially women.
you're gonna make me cry. So
You really are making a transformative
yeah.
impact
Mhm.
on so many people.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why you continue to be blessed and to win these huge contracts
Yeah.
and to continue to strive
Yeah.
and to soar
Yeah.
because so many people need you.
Yeah. I hope that I hope that I'm an example that makes people say, "Well, I'm going to do that too." Like because if we're all helping each other, just imagine how big that is. I mean, that is a big deal. We had a Women's History Month program about a couple of months ago, and I'm telling you, it warmed my heart to be able to have everybody was woman. It was the woman, the moderator was a woman, the guest speaker was a woman, the DJ was a woman, the
Caterers.
everybody was a woman. The not a caterer because we were at the hotel, but we had like I was just on Instagram and I called her. I say, Shadana, can you meet us at the pantry tomorrow and take pictures? And can you bring a videographer? She brought a whole team with her. You understand? And so for me, that's I want to be that example. So now that Shadana may say and her bringing her team of women with her.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody was able to put money in their pocket, and the event was phenomenal. And the women who came to it were blessed. But it was all. But I hope that other people see that as a oh, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to start doing some more subcontracting or just, it's not even necessarily subcontracting from a contract. It could be anything just like that. Like, oh, I'm having an event.
Let me be
Let me not
intentional.
call some major company to do this event when I know that you do events, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want us to look at each other more
Mm-hmm.
on like, how can you help me meet this need? One of the women who's helped me on like 2 different contracts, she's on the commercial side. She was trying to get her bones in the government side. And then something tragic happened with one of her employees. So it kind of took her revenue from here to here. But I asked her, I said, how can we help each other? And she ended up doing recruiting for me. And I always tell people, even during COVID, a couple of women who helped me with some stuff. One lady was a professional comedian, and she was doing some stuff online. And she would always say at the end, if you like what I'm doing, bless my cash app. Right. But that happened a lot with performers and entertainers who couldn't be on stage during COVID. And I called her and I said, how can I help you in a more substantial way? But how can you help me? And I recognize that you are a whole brand. So it can be in the background. And she said, well, I curate events. And I've been using her ever since. And so she curated a virtual event that my employees thought was the most phenomenal thing. She brought in all these guest speakers, stuff that I wouldn't have been able to figure that out. It was beautiful and they loved it. But I was able to help her, but it wasn't like it wasn't a handout. It was like I got something valuable back from her for that, and now I see my colleagues hiring her. One of my colleagues just had a 10-year anniversary. She was the moderator. You know what I'm saying? And so it's, I want to see people, I want to see us doing that more for each other.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that leads me to
Yeah.
what are you dreaming bigger about next?
Yeah. I don't know. I often say I was just having a conversation with Purba about building something because I often think. You ever see the movie Pretty Woman?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite lines from Pretty Woman is when Richard Gere says to Stuckey, his terrible financial guy or lawyer, he says, "Stuckey, you know what? We don't build anything. And I think about that often, about building something, building an app, something that will impact people's lives. I saw a couple of things during COVID where I thought, you know what, there's a need for X. And so I've been thinking about a lot of these things, but I would like to build something that can kind of make people's lives better. So more to follow on that one.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, wow. I'm happy that you are now in my circle.
Yes,
one of our money movers.
Yes.
I mean, you truly help to build and help other women to build.
Yes.
And you really are a gift.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And
You're
now that I'm
amazing.
here, I'm like, this is so beautiful.
You are amazing.
Thank you. Oh, this has been good. Thank you.